been doing? Welcome to this week's episode of the Weekly Windup with Bales and Tales with your usual suspects, PG.
Hello everyone, what's going on?
So, as you guys know, we've been a few episodes in now. BG's been fairly outward with his support for a certain team, and I've had to balance his perspectives that are often deep and insightful, but sprinkled with some bias at times. So, in order to balance that out, I had to be the neutral one, the one that doesn't really side with any particular team. The guy that's talking about, for you viewers, every single team out there, because this isn't just an RCB sort of franchise. This isn't just an RCB podcast. This is a show about cricket as a whole, cricket as it's meant to be consumed by the entirety of the fan bases. What do you have to say for yourself, PG?
How much more can this guy make me laugh? I mean, I've had to hold this in for a good while now, but then just when you least expect it, rabbits out the bag. Oh, I meant rabbits out the hat. Sorry. But anyway, guys, it's been a fantastic week. It was a bit unfortunate because rain played spoilsport, across most games, and so unfortunately we didn't get as much cricket as we'd have liked. But, and I say but, having said that, there was one game where the stakes were incredibly high, and it did happen to end on an absolute high. Pranav, what game am I talking about?
I don't know. There was this game where a lot of people in Bangalore seemed a little excited about. Must have been, I don't know, which team's from Bangalore?
Yeah, I wonder.
It's a tricky one. We start with the hard questions here. It was an RCB day.
Week, year, you say.
An absolute miracle was pulled off in the Chinnaswamy against bitter rivals CSK. Like you said, right? There was just basically one team that really played an important game this week, right? Like I guess there was LSG who had a chance, who kind of blew their shot, gave DC a sniff, and then ended up maybe knocking both of them out in the end.
Two guys in one story.
Yeah. It felt like DC was doing pretty well. And to reduce LSG to kind of like they lost early wickets. DC scored 221. I guess we were supposed to start with a different game. Sorry to flip the script.
That's all good. Let's talk about the teams that are irrelevant.
Yeah, let's finish. Let's get that out of the way. I guess. They scored 221. I guess.
Absolutely.
And LSG lost early wickets. They were in the dumps. And Nicky P
came on. He had 66 off 21. Absolutely remarkable striking of the ball. Unfortunately, he didn't have the support he needed at the time. And it got to a point, I think, where DC were looking comfortable. I mean, looked like they were going to romp home to a pretty comfortable victory. And when I say comfortable, I'm talking, 60, 70, 80 runs, potentially. But then they were given a mighty old fright by Arshad. I forgot his last name. I'm terribly sorry, guys. But he hit a quick fire 58, and it almost seemed like they were always in the hunt towards the end. Some great ball striking by him to give them a sliver of hope, but unfortunately he didn't have what it really needed to sort of take them home. And unfortunately, with that loss, it was curtains for their tournament chances. Just also because though they had the chance to win. What was their last game against Mumbai later in the week, their run rate had taken too severe a hit to, really have any chance of progression. So, commiserations, LSG fans.
Absolutely, yeah. LSG, essentially, DC and LSG knocked each other out. And, that was, I guess, good news for, some fans.
Some fans.
Right. And yeah, like you said, LSG had Mumbai to play after that, and they did end up winning that. So no sort of good news for Mumbai at the end of the tournament either. Namandir played a good knock, right? Like he did pretty well. I don't know how much he scored.
I do know Rohit hit 60 odd. I think, which is good news. I guess not necessarily for Mumbai because they're at this point. I don't think anyone cares because they basically qualify, obviously. But I think it's good news for Indian fans going into the T20 World Cup. Always nice to see the skipper in and amongst the runs, albeit a little too late for Mumbai's chances. So, all's well that ends well, I suppose.
Yeah. But besides that, not much to say about that game. Right? They got close, but that was the end. Even Nicky P scored again.
Oh,
great
yeah.
knock, 75 of 29. Yeah, a couple of other games that I think it makes sense to talk about that later. So let's get to the game of the week. And I think this was the game of the week, jokes aside, game of the week for every cricket fan. It was the most interesting storyline, right? RCB on 5 consecutive wins. Started the season with 1 of 8, right?
Yeah, 1 of 8. Yeah.
We won they won the second game and ended up against Punjab. The mighty Punjab in the IPL that has done well in 2013, 2012. Right?
I mean the final. The Maxwell went berserk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they lost twice both to KKR.
They lost twice both to KKR. It's okay, Punjab. We're brothers in unison.
Yeah, absolutely. We have brothers on both sides, right?
Absolutely.
Like the ones who reach the playoffs pretty often but actually win. And
the ones who make the occasional wild run, but then it all ends up in defeat and disappointment, which we're so accustomed to.
I guess we trump Punjab and DC on the disappointment scale, right? Punjab and DC eliminate themselves quickly. No hopes are given. They don't get high on any excitement, so it's pretty bland. Nothing to be proud of, I guess.
But it's small things that make us feel like family.
Yeah, this is definitely a family. Scenes at us in Bangalore were absolutely insane, right?
Absolutely incredible scenes. I cannot believe the match that we actually ended up seeing. For context, it was a knockout match, right? RCB needed the win to go through, and they had to not just win, but they needed to win by a certain margin. So for those of you who weren't aware, we needed to beat CSK by a margin of 18 runs or higher if RCB were to bat first, and if RCB were chasing, assuming that the full quota of 20 overs were bowled, we needed to win chase within 18.1 overs. So CSK definitely had that margin, right, that they were competing with, right? And so RCB went into this match with a lot of pressure on their shoulders. A lot of people will say, they probably shouldn't have been in this place in the first place because of their abysmal start to the season. But, everyone loves a great recovery, right? And considering, as Pranav mentioned, we lost 7 on the trot, and then we just won 5 on the trot going into this match, and so stakes were incredibly high. And what happened next?
Yeah, I think one of the big sort of storylines that we were talking about as well was that RCB's been in this situation quite a few times, squeezing into the playoffs, and as well as they generally do sometimes during the group stage, right? There comes a critical moment in a lot of games where RCB tends to crack, right? Something kind of doesn't go their way. Either it's a pitch that plays weirdly, or their big batsmen don't fire and they lose early wickets, and they tend to crumble. This is not a team that does well come clutch time, right? And it was a similar case, and I think it gave a lot of RCB fans a lot of heart attacks in a way. And right from the start, right? So they lost the toss, right? And at the Chinnaswamy, that can be a huge thing. It can really mean that bowling second, you don't know how the pitch is going to behave. It could be an absolute belter. It's already a small ground, right? And then there was rain added further sort of unpredictability to this. They were put into bat. I don't think I said that already. So Faf, I think at the toss was we were going to bowl as well first, but we're cool. We're whatever. There was a certain confidence. There was a quiet confidence about this. I don't know. I kind of felt confident also, even though it was CSK. There's something about it, right? I don't know how to explain it honestly.
I actually agree. I think it's no secret that CSK have been a bogey team now for a while. When push comes to shove, in general, we've never been able to get across the line. But then you add CSK, you throw CSK into the mix, whom we have a terrible record against. For context, I think it was 21-10 before this game. So wasn't looking all rosy for RCB. But and then we lost the toss. I think, 3 overs in with 31 for no loss, pitch suddenly looks pretty straightforward and easy, and then you throw in the first element of unpredictability. Although I want to add, we did expect rain, in all fairness. The forecast, I mean, I think it was a good summary of the week, right?
The first hurdle was rain.
First hurdle was rain, yeah. And then, I kid you not, the boys get back into the center, maybe about 35 minutes later, and then the pitch is doing, oh my God, the ball is turning square. I mean, it looked absolutely unplayable for about 3 overs there. And it was incredible because Faf and Kohli said, it was at that moment in time that they reevaluated the score that they were really pushing for. They probably had about 200 odd in mind, right, prior to the rain break. And then when they came back, it was unplayable. And I mean unplayable for 3 overs. And so at one point they said, hey, 140, 150 might not be the worst. But keep in mind, we had the 18-run barrier to play with. So it was effectively deducting 18 from whatever our total was at that point. And so we were up against that as well.
Right? Yeah, I think when they said 140 or 150, they meant like 160 or 170.
Yeah.
They wanted, the CSK to be chasing that much, basically. And with regards to the pitch, right, this popped up even during coverage, but we're talking like when, BD says turning square, it was literally like 50 wicket, maybe besides the variable bounce, but the ball was just gripping in the pitch. And there was a stat that was put out that said that the average turn during the entire IPL tournament was about 1.8 degrees. And during that phase of play, CSK was able to generate about 3.4 degrees. So we're like literally talking almost double the amount of turn, right? Like that was seen throughout the entire tournament. And watching this, I think, being fans of Indian cricket as well, like you think that RCB has gone down the wrong pitch sort of trajectory again, like just the way, the sort of World Cup final played out. It felt like, oh God, like how have we managed to muck this up? And Kohli and Faf, to their credit, played incredibly well. It was very difficult, and while they were a little circumspect, they still did, sort of took the occasional risk, got the occasional boundary. Man, like Kohli, the evolution of Kohli's game, I feel like I just have to keep talking about it because it's so difficult to do. I think once you get like older and like you've done just one thing your entire career to bring out the slog sweeps, to start to play your extra cover drive that you've played your entire life along the ground, to play it above the infield, right? That takes, a lot of like, not just the mental fortitude, but it's like you are rewriting like a lot of your inherent, learnings, right? And like, I feel like those instincts are what like get you far in a game. And rewriting those instincts is very difficult, but doing it so effectively is just like, it's just such a mark of a legendary cricketer. And I feel like, any critics or anyone, I truly don't believe that the critics that have like, a lot of knowledge about cricket are trying to say that Kohli is not a good player. The trolls, of course, online, like I feel like are extremely polarized, but critics are talking about things that generally make sense. But the fact that he's like taken it to heart, like I feel like a lot of people tend to ignore the noise, right? They're just like, I'm going to do my own thing. I just have endless praise for Virat Kohli, and I'm so happy that he got into the T20 squad as well. I think he absolutely deserves it, and I think we are objectively a worse team without him. If not just for the batting, for the intensity. Right.
Absolutely. I mean, I think to your point, he has definitely adapted his game, right, to sort of he's adapted his game definitely moving forward. He's playing a couple of shots that we aren't accustomed to seeing. I think, like you mentioned, the slog sweep. I think that's something that he probably got off ABD. He probably realized the efficacy of that shot because AB used to play those shots. He used to eat bowlers for breakfast, play those slog sweeps. And I think Kohli said, hey, this is something that I could definitely add to my repertoire, right? And he's done it with considerable aplomb now. So fair play to him. And I think the stats speak for itself, right? 700 plus runs this season, an average of 60 plus. At a strike rate, yes, the strike rate saga, I think he's put that to bed now, surely. Strike rate of about 156 or 157, which is incredible numbers. And he's the orange cap holder by a comfortable margin. And I understand you don't necessarily play a season with individual accolades in mind, but mind you, he has had the team at the front of his mind throughout the whole season, right? And he's the ultimate team player. I think that often goes understated because people, some of his critics, right, they do tend to say he's a little selfish and he's playing for the individual accolades, but it's anything but that. So it's lovely to see Kohli, continue to sort of adapt, make certain changes to his games to adapt to the ever-changing demands of the game. And Faf and him obviously had to be circumspect for a while. They had to see out certain bowlers. I think I have to shout out Mitchell Santner and Deekshana, who were borderline unplayable for those 3 overs. But I think Mitchell Santner, though very intelligent bowler, because of his late release point, right? He has the ability to gauge the changes batsmen, make whilst he's about to deliver. And so he's very good in terms of his reaction to the batsman, right? And so what RCB did very well, though, was we were able to effectively target the other bowlers, right? And once Kohli was dismissed for 47, I believe, unfortunately, he didn't get the 50, but, he still played incredibly well. Faf carried on with able support from basically everyone who batted after that point. Rajat Patidar once again, incredible in the middle order, 41, a quick fire 41. I must add, in the last 8 innings, he's in 5 50s, the 41 of barely any balls. I think it was 17 balls or 21 balls.
Yeah.
Those are great returns for somebody, coming in the middle order. So kudos to him, big shout out to him. There was Cam Green again, whose all-round abilities have definitely come to the fore over the last 5 or 6 games. It's no coincidence that it's coincided with all our wins and this maddening streak we're seeing. And then I think I'm going to leave it to you to talk about Glenn Maxwell.
Maxi averaged, I think, 5 before this game. Took himself, and it's interesting because I think Maxi has played a big role outside of the actual games, right? I think a lot of players and coach Andy Flower has come out and talked about his influence outside in the dressing room. I think it comes with the territory of being such a huge match winner in the Australian side, and that Aussie team just has that sort of winning DNA. Definitely the kind of DNA that RCB needs, but he now, extends his influence into the game. Thank you for finally coming to the fore, Maxi. We've been waiting for this. And it's much needed now without Will Jacks, going on international duty. So he plays we were at about 200, I believe, when Maxi came in. He played mostly the last over and basically took us to 218, which was a target that was initially mentioned, right? A lot of people talked about RCB getting a little, 200 is what CSK should have been chasing effectively to qualify, which meant that we had to get, like we talked about, 18 runs more. And there were a lot of hiccups through the game, but people turned up. Even Faf was dismissed in a really weird way. He was going well. Kohli and him put on that, tackle that period of extreme spin, which luckily didn't carry on. But Faf ultimately was dismissed of Mitchell Santner's bowling, but not because of his bowling.
Not because of his bowling. Yeah.
He was again run out at the non-strikers. Is that a stat this IPL? Has there been the most number of those? I don't know what you call them, right? Runouts at the non-strikers.
Bowlers inflicting the runouts. Yeah, it's probably the most unlucky dismissal you can have in the game, and we've seen it happen a fair bit. So it makes you wonder. By the way, I call foul play on that. I actually don't think Faf's bat was in the air, but that's for another time. If we'd lost, that would have been talking about it.
And I think it was so close. I don't know. I still think that there's a case for it to be in the air, but the thing is, it was literally so close, and the touch on Santner's hand was so marginal. It showed on Snicko, so I guess you can't complain about that. But there is a case to be made that Faf's bat was on the ground, and I believe that anybody, even a CSK fan, had the decision gone RCB's way and Faf's way. I don't think even a CSK fan would have complained about that, and that was heartbreaking. And that is, I think, being someone who follows the team, you feel that's one of those critical moments where this team is going to crack, right? The new batter coming in is going to be feel a little hard done by the decision. The pressure is going to be on, and you're probably going to see this team crumble potentially. But every single person, we talked about Maxi. I think you mentioned DK as well. DK, Cameron Green. Cam Green has been pretty good. I think we've not had the best Cam Green. like personally, at least with the bat, I thought he like his knocks to Mumbai were a little more like eye-catching. A little, the highlight reels like were a little better. I'm not sure honestly. Like I just feel like every player plays better for every other team than RCB, right?
That's the curse of us.
So, but yeah, Maxi puts the finishing touches. We get to a score that everybody was thrilled with, right? Everyone is thrilled with this score, and you think, okay, now it's got to be an RCB game, and we're like, where are we going to mess this up? And you think, yeah, at the start, right? Like past few games, bowlers have been doing well. Dayal Siraj been doing pretty well. Surely. Maxwell or Swapnil can't like bowl a good first over. And guess what happens? Maxwell in his first ball of the innings gets Ruturaj Gaikwad, who, mind you, is the closest person to Virat Kohli in the orange cap race, right? Like he is the person that you're worrying about because he has marshaled their scores a lot of times. Like even if he doesn't score fast, he's kind of like been the chaser, right? And I was extremely worried about Gaikwad.
Absolutely. I was incredibly worried as well because I think one is the fear of Gaikwad because he's obviously had a tremendous season, as Pranav just pointed out, right behind Kohli in the race for the orange cap. And so this is a guy who's been clearly scoring big. So to get him out first ball was the biggest of boosts, right? But I think the fear factor with Chennai was also the fact that their batting lineup bats deep. Right, so not only do they have specialist batsmen who are capable of doing the job, but then they also have a number of all-rounders in the middle order who can wreak havoc on their day, right?
But Shardul Thakur who came in 9,
which is absolutely ridiculous.
He's
right?
won test matches for us.
yeah. So that speaks volumes of how wisely they've selected their team, right? And their batting depth is incredible. Having said that, getting Gaikwad early doors was extremely significant, and then we got Daryl Mitchell fairly early as well, and after that they did have a bit of a partnership with Ajinkya Rahane and Rachin Ravindra. Rachin Ravindra actually ended up playing a pretty enterprising knock. I think he hit 60 odd. And he did definitely look threatening for a good amount of time there.
Yeah, this was Rachin Ravindra who started the season brilliantly, who did not play much towards the end, and this was the one game.
This is the one game that we played. And so we feared the worst, right? Because we've seen this script before, we've seen the movie before. But having said that, Rachin Ravindra and the Jinx definitely looked to be consolidating Chennai into sort of a position of power where you would argue they were favored to see it through at a certain point in time.
They were ahead of the ball, I think the curve at that time because we did get some spin, but we had a dip, I believe, right after the spin came on. 3 overs, we got only 12 runs. So our power play was, not very good. Like
6 overs, 42.
42, right? And but they didn't have that, right? They were much ahead. They were going at 10
So the run rate was exactly. So the run rate was never an issue as far as they were concerned. They always looked to be on course. They were basically playing at the required run rate, and it looked like the game was slowly but surely fading away. And then we got the crucial wicket of Ajinkya Rahane. Lockie Ferguson, I believe it was his first over. It might have been his first ball. He induced Rahane to a false shot outside off stump, skied it. He got caught at mid-off, I believe. Good take.
Right? Good take from Faf.
But little did we know what was to come, right? Little did we know what was to come, and we'll get there. But I think we were regularly chipping away at wickets. I think Rachin Ravindra, then came Shivam Dubey, and that was where we feared the worst because this is a guy who's been destructive all season. He's truly taken the game away from opposition in the middle overs when traditionally you look to stymie the opposition. So there was right reasons to fear the worst, but and especially when Mohammad Siraj dropped Shivam Dubey at long gone, was a bit of a tough catch because the ball did travel extremely high, but that's a catch you'd expect to be taken, 9 times out of 10.
And Siraj did not want that catch.
Don't want that catch.
Siraj was like, they showed a replay where he's on the boundary. First of all, I think we talked about this. Why was Siraj at long gone? Siraj is never at long on feeling in the deep to take catches, and he felt it. He knew it.
The first second of the ball going in the air, he immediately looks at the outfielder like, "Is that yours?" Because I don't watch the It was probably Yash. So it's a tale of who's worst. And then, unfortunately, when he dropped that, we did fear the worst, and for the right reasons.
This feels like another one of those moments, where they've Shivam Dube was the other guy for me. Besides Gaikwad, Dube was the other character who was, going to be that person who gives the firepower in the middle overs. And for some reason, ever since Shivam Dube has been picked for the T20 squad, we haven't seen much from Shivam Dube, have we? Two ducks and now this. And I think the interesting thing about this performance was that we've seen this version of Shivam Dube before, right? We've seen a Shivam Dube that hasn't been able to get it going and who hasn't been able to clear as often. And obviously, he doesn't face those same issues. But was that just a very good purple patch for Shivam Dube? And, it was extremely good. It's not that I'm even faulting the selectors, honestly, but makes you wonder, right? Now, it was turning and he wasn't able to hit even Maxi. And but just something about it was he was so circumspect. Is it the pressure? Because the pressure is going to be pretty high in the World Cup,
Definitely. Yeah.
So there's that as well. Anyway, so getting back to the game, right? And so we pick him off. No, so Siraj drops Dube, and so you think that there again we talked about how that's again another moment where you feel like this might crush the spirits, right? Here's where you might see the head start to dip, things start to go against us, and maybe we bowlers get wayward. Shivam Dube goes on to score a big. This thing makes up for his initial sort of lack of fireworks, and what happens actually is that Shivam Dube does us a huge favor, which is run out the very set Rachin Ravindra, who was their most dangerous player at that point, taking everyone to the cleaners, and he looked like his squashbuckling best, and definitely we're not sure why Shivam Dube was the one who wasn't run out. But yeah, Rachin Ravindra was left in the dirt. He wouldn't even try. It was extremely bad miscommunication.
Definitely.
And just was run out, right? And then that brings Jaddu to the crease, right? First.
Yeah. So I think it got to a point where obviously we feared the worst, like we said, when Dube, was at the crease, and then he did us a big favor. We were internalizing the drop, and the next thing Rachin Ravindra has run out. So fair play to Dube for that. Did one for his old franchise there, RCB. Then comes Jaddu, and then Jaddu also looked reasonably fluent, I must add. But then, they quickly lost Dube after that, and then I think Santner came in, and Santner had just got to the crease. I think he got 3 or 4 or 5, and then it was Siraj, I believe, who was bowling. Siraj bowls a ball outside off stump. It was a full toss, I believe. Mid-off was up. This is the moment, guys. Mid-off was up. Siraj bowls a full toss outside off. Santner looks to drive over the infield. So the ball is rising. It's going over mid-off. Faf du Plessis, at the tender age of 39, backpedals, plucks the ball out of the air and falls to the ground. Absolutely remarkable catch. I think there was already an incredible catch that had been taken by an RCB fielder this season. I think it was Reece Topley when he took that one-handed catch at short third, right?
Yeah. Cam Green took a decent one.
I must add as well. So there are definitely some contenders there for catch of the season as far as RCB are concerned. But given the situation, sort of given what was at stake, all things considered, I think this tops the charts, right? Faf, unreal catch. The guy's 39, I have to emphasize, and he's as fit as they come. He's probably the fittest person in the RCB team, maybe except Kohli, but they really set the bar high. Incredible catch, another setback for CSK, but then it brings everyone's favourite duo to the crease, Jadeja and Dhoni. And at this point, if you looked at it purely from a run standpoint, you probably would have favoured RCB, and I'm saying, even in terms of the revised target that CSK needed, right?
Yeah.
But having said that, you just never know. Although Dhoni is 42, given what he's accomplished, in his career, you just never know. And Jadeja has also played some swashbuckling knocks, right?
Yeah, I think it had nothing to do with Dhoni and Jadeja. I think one of the things that was very surprising was the fact that Mitchell Santner came before Dhoni, right? Because that puts an extreme amount of pressure on the equation, and I think that's why even I favored RCB at that point. They were like 130 something, needed like 75 odd more, and there were 6 overs, not an impossible equation, but just with the pressure, one wicket falls, and then you're into okay. There's Lord Shardul, but it's you just kind of felt like the momentum was with RCB at this point, right? And but Dhoni and Jadeja come in. And I think if there was any place where we were talking about where the RCB drops the ball or bowlers go through a rough spell, I think that was when it happened. And you have to give Jadeja and Dhoni a lot of credit. I mean, Jadeja played a fucking absolutely brilliant knock. We had some wayward bowling. Lockie Ferguson bowled a brilliant first over.
I have to say, the ball got really wet. So at this point, it was very difficult to grip the ball. And you start asking yourself the question, okay, we're obviously at the stage of the innings where variation is going to be of paramount importance, right? Because you cannot be predictable. But Lockie Ferguson, I must add, was rather lucky to continue bowling because he bowled 2 beamers. Unfortunately, the ball slipped. He was actually looking to change the pace of the ball. But then, unfortunately, slipped and he bowled 2 beamers, and at that point I remember talking to you and I said, I think that's him out of the attack.
Yeah.
But apparently that wasn't the case. And so
and this is slightly interesting because Lockie Ferguson this season apparently he has introduced the knuckleball more into his arsenal, and supposedly I think about 6 of his prior wickets in this IPL has been to that ball. So it's his most effective weapon. And we also see, and I think this is why Faf and Virat go to the umpire, and we've lost, I think, a lot of fair play points at the absolute bottom of that pile. And there's a vehement sort of arguing with the umpire at this point. And not talking about the beamer, and I think a lot of people were like, wait, why are they arguing? The ball was here. That was a beamer for sure. There's no doubts about that. But they wanted the ball to be changed, right? Because there's no way you can bowl a knuckleball with the ball sitting here and bowl that accurately. So it doesn't go their way, obviously. So the ball stays old and wet and nearly impossible to bowl. And I think that was part of it. So he one weapon taken out of his arsenal. But Jadeja and Dhoni play brilliantly, take him to the cleaner. Siraj, he needs a few wayward overs every game.
Always.
Right?
I mean, I think we're used to it at this point, and they really kept things sticking. They were never truly out of it. At no point, maybe part of this is PTSD, but at no point did RCB truly feel safe, with those 2 at the crease and, understanding the firepower that they brought to the table.
Yeah.
But I do remember it got to a situation where they had 7 balls left and they needed 23 runs. And at that point, you would probably back the bowling team more often than not, just given the whole pressure that situation had. And then I remember Lockie Ferguson bowled that last ball in the penultimate over, and Jadeja deposits him over mid-wicket for 6. And then at that point, you're saying, 17 of the last, anyone's game. I don't know. I might just roll the dice in favor of CSK here, right? And then came the last over, and this is where things got spicy. I'll tell you why. Because, so it was Yash Dayal to bowl. And this was fascinating because I'm sure he had unpleasant memories at the time. He got hit for 30 by Rinku Singh, in that last over, and Rinku Singh did the impossible there. And so you could imagine that it would be incredibly tough for somebody to get put in that same situation again. But firstly, huge credit to him for stepping up and willing to do that, because not a lot of people would do that.
There were options.
And there were options. A lot of people tend to shy away from that, right? Because you don't want to be that person. Having said that, kudos to him. He stepped up. We weren't saying that after the first ball, a bit of a rank ball down the leg side, and believe it or not, Dhoni casually flicks it 110 meters over the roof behind the wicket. 110 meters, that probably landed somewhere on one of the roads outside the stadium.
But little did we know
that he was playing 40 chess.
40 chess from Yash Dayal. And so Yash Dayal bowls a sitter for Dhoni. This was the plan, right? Let me let you into the plan. So Yash Dayal bowls a sitter to MS Dhoni so that he can deposit it, give MSD his moment, right? He's possibly the last game that he's going to play. He might be retiring. Huge turnout. At the Chinnaswamy, you could possibly, we've seen this in a lot of stadiums, but The Chinnaswamy may have been the Chepauk. There was almost equal. It was 50-50 support. So much so that Virat Kohli was silencing his own stadium. His home fans fairly often. A lot of Twitter activity about this. But Yash Dayal had other plans. He knew that once the ball was hit out of the stadium, he is effectively checkmated CSK, and RCB finally get the new ball change. They finally get the ball change that they were looking for, but even after that, so I guess CSK would have been all out or restricted to 100 had we gotten the ball change early on in the game. And Yash Dayal goes on. So now the equation was 11 of 5. I think in a T20 game in 2024, 11 of 5 is as good as 2 of 1. I mean, 2 of 6 in the yesterday of the game, right? Like, yeah, I can never get numbers right, having being an engineer and everything. But 11 of 5, like you're thinking, okay, this makes sense. Here's where RCB chokes, right? Like, here's where they hand CSK the game. MST gets another playoff run. This is not his final game, obviously. It was just, there's no way you're thinking we're coming back from this. And Yash Dayal, we have Lord Shardul at the crease, and Yash Dayal takes the pace off and is absolutely unplayable. They literally it can't hit the middle, and on most occasions cannot even hit the bat. There are a couple of dot balls. Shardul manages to edge one and gets the single, puts Jadeja on strike. Then it's 10 runs of two balls. And we are texting each other. We're like, okay, a non-boundary ball will do it.
Absolutely. And I think my man in his excitement forgot to hide. He got Dhoni out. He got Dhoni out. Shardul came out. Oops. The excitement does funny things to us. No, but the fact is, Dhoni got caught in the deep, like right after he hit the 6, right? And so that it was inches away from being another 6, and that was really game over. But
great catch from
Swapnil, by the way, because a lot of pressure that went really high as well, right? And so we did that. The dot balls with the variation of pace with the new ball, which he sought after. So that was all on Yash Dayal. So fair play to him. And then it became 10 off 2. And then it was just a normal, regular ball that wasn't going to be a 4 or a 6 would do. And next thing you know, the next 2 balls, Jadeja was beaten hands down. And then that's the story of the week.
And that's the story of how RCB made it to the playoffs. RCB.
That was just a microcosm of the celebrations that happened right after that match, but it was huge. I think from a mental standpoint, to get over the hurdle of, falling to some of these teams that have always had that sort of mental battle over us, the CSKs, the MIs, the KKRs, basically the teams who won the IPL, right? It always feels like we're fighting an uphill battle, and we're trying to fight 2 battles, right? We're trying to battle ourselves and the opposition when we play the better teams. And so what that means is we went through as the 4th best team in the league. And so we have officially made the playoffs.
Woo! 9th playoff run for RCB. This is the ninth time that they've been, had a chance to win the tournament. It happened. Let's do a quick rundown of when this happened. So, RR won the first tournament.
Yeah.
And RCB reaches the final. I believe we finished top of the table in 2009. And we reached the final. I forget who we beat in the semis.
I don't remember, but I do remember the painful semis final loss to Sunrisers, Deccan Chargers
at that time. I believe we restricted them to like about 140.
Very
low total.
Yeah.
Kumble was captain at that time.
Got Gilchrist out in the first over, which was top, and we really had a chaseable target. But
extremely chaseable.
Pressure does funny things.
Yeah, like he ended up with I think 4 for 16. And it's funny, I remember that because he did it twice against them. And we'll get to that shortly. Anyway, so RCB ends up, I think, 4 or 5 runs short. We are unable to chase 140. Unimaginable in this day, right? For us to not chase that. And at this point in time, like RCB is a strong team, right? Because in the next edition, we reached the playoffs again, 2010, but we lose to Mumbai. And here's, I think, where CSK starts to rise, right?
There's this huge blur of CSK and MI in between, which honestly I'm not interested in talking.
Yeah, so CSK beats Mumbai in this one. And then they go on to the next one, 2011. RCB reaches the finals yet again. So in the fourth edition, we're in the finals. I believe we ran over. Who did we run over in the lead up? Mumbai.
Yes.
We beat Mumbai. So RCB is like taking revenge because we beat Mumbai in 2011. And in 2010, after losing to Mumbai in the semi-finals, it was not the whole the format that it is now.
Format.
We beat Deccan Chargers, who we lost to the previous year, getting them all out for like 80, and then like we were steamrolling them. So like this is like an RCB team that was coming back, little bit clutch, but like losing at the important moments, right? And
got steamrolled. CSK. I think it was a Murli Vijay, Maddie Hayden masterclass. I think they hit 200 odd. Mike Hussey actually, and Mike Hussey and Vijay, and we were never truly in it right from the get-go. So that was unfortunate, but I think if you look at it over the years, RCB have obviously made some finals, but unfortunately we've fallen short at the final twice to SRH.
SRH in 2016.
Which was supposed to be our year. Virat Kohli hit 973 runs, and yet we weren't able to get over the line. Guys, if you think you know what pain is, you haven't spoken to RCB fans yet. Trust me. But having said that, that was a painful one to take, and we obviously lost to CSK, like Pranav just mentioned, and there was a competition for a while called the Champions. I think it was there was a league where we played against all the other domestic teams, right, across different countries. And I remember we made the final of that, and we lost to Mumbai Indians as well. So finals haven't been kind to this franchise. It's been an unfortunate one. And so, I think it's always, we never take it for granted, right? The fact that we make the playoffs because, it gives us the opportunity to get that all-elusive IPL title. And, based on the way results have played out now, it looks like we are going to be playing the Rajasthan Royals. So it's going to be third.
A bit of a surprise there.
It's a bit of a surprise because for what it's worth, Rajasthan was 7 wins and 1 loss after 8 games. And I believe RCB were 1 win and 7 losses. So the exact mirror image. But having said that, here we find ourselves playing them in the 3rd versus 4th qualifier match. Who'd have thought, huh? Cricket's a funny game.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I mean, they've truly lost their
weird like slump of form from RR. I think even after the RCB game, we were like, okay, RR is going to... I mean, I guess the fact that they are not second is not entirely their fault because their game got washed out, right? But SRH did what they needed to do. Crushed... who did they crush? Punjab. Yeah, Punjab there to give people points, I guess.
We know that.
They played well though.
They played well.
They did play well.
Yeah, they did
Prab
play well.
Simran and
Prab Simran played well. And Riley also played well.
Shashank was run out. But yeah, they got a good finish, 200 plus score. But SRH
made it look at. They did a canter. Everyone contributed the same Abhishek Sharma show.
Except Travis Head was bowled first ball.
It's all about the law of averages. He's trying to even that out before the playoffs, where he ultimately was a pick and trust.
Oh god, yeah.
This one.
I think I for one am glad that SRH it's not our first game. I mean RCB's first game. Because we talked about it, like we've lost to Deccan Chargers in the finals, who is like the SRH of yesteryear, right? And SRH twice in the finals to a Hyderabad team. And also in 2020 when we
the playoffs
we made 3 playoff spots. 20. It was like I think the last run of RCB form again, a team that's been doing somewhat relatively well, right? 2021, 22,
2020,
21, 22, and lost to SRH. So I'm for one glad that we dodged them. But I think another interesting storyline which we've talked about is we lost to SRH in 2020. We lost to KKR in 21, Owen Morgan's KKR. They went to the finals, but I think they lost to CSK. And 2022, we lost to RR. Who also reached the finals but lost to a very strong at that point in time GT.
So, and voila, the three of them have joined RCB in the playoffs, and so promises to be an action-packed playoffs. That's for sure. As RCB fans, it's been a wild ride so far. Like we said, we lost 7 on the trot, and then we've won 6 on the trot to qualify. It almost feels like we've won the tournament already. The celebrations were absolutely incredible. For those of you who haven't seen some of the celebrations, I highly encourage you to go on Twitter and just look at the different parts of Bangalore that have celebrated in unison. You have people going absolutely berserk in different parts of the country, let alone Bangalore. RCB's fan following is truly like none other, and I kid you not. But having said that, promises to be a good week of cricket action. Any predictions?
I gotta say that, and I say this with the enthusiasm that what I hope will happen really, and I'm gonna stick with that. Like I think there's something about this RCB team that feels fearless. I think they're a team that is not gonna choke, but might just play a bad game. And I think that that's gonna maximize their chances. So I do see them beating RR, because RR doesn't have Joss Butler, right? He's a clutch player, and I think if we can get some inroads into that batting lineup, that'll be good. Narendra Modi Stadium, good spinners, but not really particularly one that you would fear them, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a battle, right? I think it's two things. I think how do we combat the double spin threat
Exactly.
of UZ and Ravi Ash? And also on top of that, I think it's really about ensuring that form batsmen don't get going. We cannot let Jaiswal go berserk. Sanju Samson and Riyan Parhar.
Yeah.
Riyan Parhar has been having a fantastic tournament, just in case you've forgotten. So
even in the losses, he's always
contributed. So this is not going to be an easy match by any stretch of the imagination. Having said that, given the wave of momentum we've been riding recently, I do back us. I just feel like 3 matches in a row, given the energy we've expended to get to this point, might just be a little beyond us, but never say never. I'm all for this crest of momentum that we found, and long may it continue.
Yeah, I think it's clear what we wish would happen. I think the second qualifier, I believe we'll probably see KKR in the final, or KKR will be in the final, and I think we might meet SRH in the second, what is it called? The second playoff. Qualifier.
So the first one's Eliminator.
The second qualifier, right? And I think that's going to be a tricky game. And we've talked about this a little bit, but it's probably going to be one of those games that's either almost impossible for us to win if all of the batters fire, or it's probably going to be on the easier side. I don't believe that it's going to be a middle ground kind of game. It just doesn't seem like SRH's kind of thing. Then I think, provided that happens, I think we can talk about scenarios in a way. RCB meeting KKR in the final will be an interesting clash, because there's a lot of I guess the heat has kind of died down a little bit, but previously, and Gautam Gambhir now sort of leading this team. He has talked about how he loves beating RCB, right? They are the team that has stolen a very crucial match that if we had sort of won that, we just lost by 1 run, we would have been in the playoffs. CSK would actually have to chase the target that we set, right?
But it has to be added that was the match that really signaled sort of our change in form, right?
Yeah.
And that was what really signaled that we were potentially moving in the right direction. We obviously didn't know it at the time. We just thought it was another heartbreaking loss, and we almost thought we had no chance. So all the predictors, you had predictors giving us a 1% chance at the time, but sometimes that 1% means a lot more. So it's fantastic to see us back, but I think to your point earlier, I think KKR and SRH are 100% deserve to be where they're at. They've definitely given other teams something to think about in terms of maximizing the runs you score in the power play. The swashbuckling form of Travis Hyde and Abhishek Sharma for SRH, and the finishing touches applied by Klaasen. It's been the story of the tournament, and also the KKR batsmen through and through. Philip Salt and Sunil Narayan have given them the equivalent starts at the top of the order. We definitely have a score to settle with KKR this tournament. We lost twice to them. SRH, we've kind of split our head-to-head. I don't know if we get that far. That's another story. But, first things first, we have business to take care of against RR.
very strong RR indeed. Yeah, I think there's all to play for. RCB I think they've made this tournament more interesting. Let us know what you think of that win. I, for one, think that, if we do go all the way, and we're not talking about it like that's a probable scenario, but if we do go all the way, I think I call a Netflix docu-series on this season. The first one on cricket, one that might actually make aligns with our goal of this channel, which is to spread cricket around the world, spread it in the North American hemisphere, hopefully. And thank you for watching. It's great to be joined by a cricket loving community, and we're so happy to be part of it and to be talking about this. Bhargav has been quite a cricketer back in his day. I played some cricket myself. We're trying to revive a community here in New York that is largely absent but exists in pockets, and your support means a lot. Any finishing thoughts?
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting 1 week, right? And we look forward to it. Hopefully, it ends the best note for all of us RCB fans out there. If not, I think we can look back and say that this was a fantastic tournament, all things considered, and may the best team truly win. And yes, I definitely echo what Pranav said. We have a lot of exciting cricketing action coming up. Once the IPL is done, we have the T20 World Cup coming up, and so franchise cricket becomes international cricket, and tribalism just got that much more real. So definitely look forward to that, and we hope to engage in as many cricketing discussions as possible, and we would love to see your support, and look forward to more content in the very near future.
Yeah, with that said, take care, guys. Stay safe out there. Celebrate responsibly, RCB fans. But, stay in touch with the cricketing action. And if you don't, you know where to catch it. We'll see you on YouTube.